Start where it's most popular. I mean, a lot of people think about creatine.
Yeah, like it's really evolved over the last 40 years. It's gone from athletes getting bigger, stronger, faster. And now we're looking at potential benefits on bone health, brain health, cardiovascular health, even in children and during pregnancy. So it's evolved from just the young male athlete to pretty much anybody on the planet is now considering creatine either in their diet or supplementation. So for the next few hours, super excited to talk about all aspects of creatine and the evidence-based research behind it.
Why is it so popular?
Well, because it works from a muscle performance perspective. So it basically increases the ability to produce ATP or maintain it during an exercise session. So, for example, when you're doing, a squat or leg press or even running, you're doing muscle contractions, and phosphocreatine, which is what we're going to be talking about today from creatine supplementation, it really maintains ATP or adenosine triphosphate. So if you have more ATP longer, you can exercise at a higher capacity, a higher intensity. And that delays the utilization of other energy systems that might be a bit slower. So anybody involved in high explosive anaerobic type of sports, weightlifting, high intensity interval training, for example, probably would experience some benefits from creatine supplementation. So it definitely seems to increase training volume. So that's either the load by the reps by the set or exercise capacity from a cardiovascular perspective. It definitely, if you were to choose one thing why creatine has been so effective, it's improving muscle strength. You could also encompass that with endurance and power. It also improves lean body mass. So here's a big discrepancy that a lot of the viewers might not know. When we measure lean body mass in the labs, we're technically measuring blood, connective tissue, soft tissue. So we're not directly measuring muscle mass. We need to do a lot more research on that. But in general, about 50% of the value of lean body mass we consider muscle. So it has some small favorable effects. There's been some studies with QCT as well as ultrasound. But you can get an increase in lean body mass, regional muscle thickness, muscle performance. But probably the area that most people don't realize is the recovery aspects. It really seems to have some anti-catabolic effects, potentially anti-inflammatory effects. And that's interesting because it's from the aerobic community. For the longest time, we never thought creatine was for endurance or aerobic type athletes. And the best lines of evidence from a recovery aspect come from long duration aerobic exercise, a marathon, ultramarathon, a triathlon. It seems to reduce cytokines. So those are markers of inflammation. So there's a whole gamut of mechanisms. There's about 10 what we consider anabolic factors, and then there's probably just as many as an anti-catabolic effect.
Is creatine benefiting? Is that how it's benefiting increasing the training volume?
Yeah, in two ways. So it really seems to maximize either the recruitment or the ability of type 2 muscle fibers. And when we talk about aging, unfortunately, those are the ones we're losing as we get older. But it really seems to work in the second, third, and fourth set. So, for example, if you were to do 4 sets of leg press, compared to placebo, you may not notice any difference in the first set because we think we have enough ATP or phosphocreatine stores in our muscle. But when it comes to set 2, 3, and 4, that's where creatine really comes to the rescue. The individual or group can do more repetitions, and then over time, they can actually do a greater volume. We think with weeks of training, if you're doing more volume, you can actually get greater physiological adaptations. So when we look at all the meta-analysis, when you compare creatine and weight training to creatine placebo and weight training, there is a greater increase in lean body mass, muscle size, as well as muscle performance. So creatine, there is something there from a mechanistic standpoint to allow that. And we think muscle fiber recruitment, primarily type 2 muscle fibers, is one of the main reasons. On average, if you were to totally wipe out your normal creatine stores, it takes about 3 to 5 minutes for your mitochondria to recover that. However, creatine really, really speeds up that recovery, which is great for the average person. They don't have a lot of time to work out. They can't wait around for 3 to 5 minutes in between a really intense set. So it really speeds up the recovery. Not only does it speed up the recovery after every set, but in between contractions as well. So over time, the individual could probably have a really intense, great workout in less time total and get actually more favorable effects.